Hello everyone, I am Razorblade Mango, and rather than doing, a typical review like I do for video games, I want to talk about just my personal experience playing the first episode of The Walking Dead Season 2. Now, I love the first season. It's one of my all-time favorite games, and it's one of the very few games where it's actually gotten me to tear up. That is not an easy thing for a game to do. And that game made it look easy. Twice it made me tear up. And keep in mind, this review is going to have spoilers for the first season of The Walking Dead and this episode as well. So if you haven't played the game yet, please, either of them, please go out and play them. They are fantastic. You can get the whole first season on Xbox Live Marketplace and PlayStation Store and Steam, I think, for a really nice price. And the Game of the Year edition is out. I recommend you guys go out and get that. It's a fantastic game. Now, Walking Dead Season 2, hey, this review, this discussion would have been up earlier had Telltale Games not been sitting on with a thumb up their ass in terms of the season pass. Why, they had this problem with The Wolf Among Us where they released the game, but the season pass was nowhere to be found on the PlayStation Store for a couple days. Well, now it's going to be a fucking week in the case of The Walking Dead Season 2 because they announced they're going to release it on Christmas Eve. Well, okay, so for the people that want to play this game, are dying to play it, but want to save money, you're going to punish them by not letting them buy the season pass? Why is the season... What's wrong with the season pass? Why can't they put the season pass out the same time as the game? That's bad business. Where they promise they're going to have something, they promise they're going to release something, and then they go, oh, well, we have, quote, problems, so we're going to release it a week later. When God knows how many times the events of this have been spoiled for some people by friends or the internet or just any other third party. It's just bullshit. And I hope they get their shit together as far as the season passes go for Tales from the Borderlands and the Game of Thrones series they're going to do. Now on to The Walking Dead Season 2. This story takes place 16 months later after the events of the first season, which ended with, and I'm warning right now, I'm going to spoil it, it's the last chance to bail. Okay. With Lee getting bitten by the undead, and him, you could either choose to leave and let him turn, but he's tied up, or Clementine can kill him before he turns. And I chose for Clementine to kill him. And that scene just tore my fucking guts out. It was just... Everyone had been telling me, you're gonna tear up during the ending. You're gonna tear up. And I went, no I'm not. No I'm not. And then I actually saw that scene and I was like... I looked like Clementine with the part when that was going on. I looked like that. Just my lip was trembling. I was like, no, Lee! No! So, Season 2. My biggest concern going into this was, because Clementine was the main character, that they were going to decrease the depression, they were going to make it softer, just because Clementine's the main character. Fuck that. It's like Telltale Games made a list. It's like they spent a whole day coming up with ideas on how to torture this poor girl physically, psychologically, mentally, emotionally, because they do some fucked up shit to Clementine. Clementine gets her ass kicked during this movie. Man, it was worse than Season 1 as far as the depression goes, and it was bad enough in Season 1. In Season 2, I'm not even... I've only done the first episode, and it's already made me insanely depressed. In a good way, which I want this series to depress me, because this... Man, Telltale Games has some fucking balls on them, because They really, with this episode, they are really, more so than ever with season 1, they are pushing this idea out there that, look, the apocalypse doesn't give a fuck how old you are. It doesn't care if you're a kid. It doesn't care if you're an animal. It doesn't care if you're a baby. You're just as likely to be fucked as any other being out there. The apocalypse does not care about you. And that lesson is learned so many times over throughout the first episode of season 2. I want to talk about 2 specific moments. And it's the moments that I feel like are the most... Actually, 3. I want to talk about 3 moments I feel like are the most impactful to me personally. So number 1, and I'm going to kind of go backwards. I'm going to start at the end of the game, because the events I want to talk about increasing fucked upness. So number 1, I want to talk about, I believe her name was Rebecca, with one of the survivors that Clementine meets up with, who's pregnant. And there's a scene where you have to sneak into the house to get medical supplies for a wound that you have. And you overhear this woman talking to herself, saying like, oh, God, I hope this baby is just born already. I hope the baby is his. And then she walks out. And Clementine kind of assumes that this woman's been having an affair, that maybe the baby is not her husband's. And I'm going to be honest, I hated this woman. This woman was a total bitch. Like, the second Clementine comes up and meets up with these survivors, she's all like, well, fuck you, little girl. I don't trust you being here. I don't want nothing to do with you. I hope you die. I hope you leave pretty soon. And I'm just sitting there thinking, damn, girl, that's a kid. That's a fucking little girl you're gonna treat this way. That's just, come on. Not even in this situation is it okay to treat a little girl like this. Come on. And Clementine, you can choose to not take advantage of this opportunity. I took advantage of it. Where, excuse me, where Clementine actually takes advantage of this situation, and she's all like, well, whose baby is it? And then the woman's like, what the fuck did you just say to me? And Clementine just looks at her with these eyes, because Clementine is older in this game. She's definitely much edgier, and she's a lot more tough. And she just stares this woman right in the eye, and she goes, you better start being nicer to me, or I'm going to tell your husband that this baby might not be his. And this is an important moment, because this really shows Clementine's maturity. Because in the first season, Clementine was more of like the going along person, where whenever the adults would make a decision, she would always go along with it. She might interject here and there with some kind of info or some kind of opinion that would make Lee reconsider what he was doing. Clementine is pretty much, as far as Clementine is concerned, she's on her own emotionally. She is on her own. She does not really want to be emotionally involved with these people, especially the group's littlest like kid, because there's another little kid with them, and she's all like, oh, we're gonna be best friends, and Clementine's like, yeah, we're gonna be best friends. At least that's what I made her say. But it's just showing how much Clementine has grown throughout the 16 months since the first season, because she's really taking control of this situation as best as she can do for a little girl. And there's also the scene where she where she encounters the other little girl in their group. And this girl is, I'm going to guess she's taller than Clementine. And she's about, if I were to make a guesstimate, I'd say about 2 years older than her. And you can, the maturity level between these two is so blatantly obvious, where Clementine really is the adult compared to this other older girl who's been sheltered from the apocalypse. She doesn't know the horrors out there. And knowing Telltale Games, they're going to fuck this girl up by the end of this season. She is gonna see all the horrors, all the atrocities that this zombie apocalypse has been bringing on. And if I can make a prediction, Carlos is gonna get it, and his daughter is gonna have to watch as her father is just either killed or tortured or kidnapped, or something horrible is gonna happen to Carlos, and the girl is just gonna have to grow up, mature-wise, and deal with that. The second one I want to talk about, because this was the first point was more like her emotional growth. And the second one I wanted to talk about, and this is going to be, the next two scenes I'm going to talk about are going to be long discussed throughout this year, throughout next year, throughout maybe as far as gaming goes, in terms of scenes that really hit you on a psychological and emotional level, on a visceral level. The sewing scene, where Clementine has to sew up this wound that she gets. And you have to sneak into the house because the survivors see that you have a bite, and Clementine's like, no, it's a dog bite. Seriously, it's not a zombie bite. So then they lock you in a shed just to be sure you won't turn. So you gotta sneak out of the shed, go into the house, steal some alcohol for the sore so it doesn't bleed out and become infected, some stitches, and a needle. And what else? Oh, I'm blanking out. Bandages, of course, bandages. So, you finally get all that shit. And, of course, in true Telltale Games fashion, they make you sew up they make you put the alcohol into Clementine's wound. They make you sew up Clementine's wound in really graphic detail with doing that. Every time Clementine puts that needle into her arm to stitch up the wound, the camera zooms into that and shows every little detail of it. And I don't cringe very easily. A lot of violence does not get me. I have a very strong stomach when it comes to it. Oh, that shit made me cringe watching that. It makes me cringe just thinking about it right now. Because, and what also hits Clementine, it's great character development, because here's a girl, like I said, throughout season 1, she's been helped out by adults. She's not really been on her own. This is one of those times where she is on her own. She has to grow up. And she's got to deal with this enormous amount of pain that's happening to her because she has to survive. So she has to suffer a lot. She cannot be in this bubble of comfort anymore. She has to get things done on her own, without Lee, without Krista, without anybody. She just gotta look out for herself. And the wound scene stitching that up, it shows her progression towards adulthood in a really fascinating and fucked up way. Because normally, and it's not like she's this master seamstress where she's like a really great at sewing up stitches. This is like, I believe, one of her first times sewing up a wound, and it's sloppy, and that shows that she still has a lot to go, and she's gonna mess up, because that's just life. That's what you do when you don't know what the fuck you're doing all that well. You're gonna fuck up. And that's perfectly showcased through Clementine's, the scene where she's got to sew some stuff up. And the part where the zombie comes into the shed and is trying to kill her. And she's got to take care of it by herself. She's got to, grab onto the tools necessary to fend it off. And she's got to hammer that motherfucker's brains in by herself. No adult, no help. All on her own, and it just shows really great character progression, physically and mentally. And the final moment I wanted to talk about is probably the most gut-wrenching scene I have ever had to experience in a video game. I thought about this long and hard. This is because this scene made me so depressed, and I was literally sick to my stomach. It's the dog scene. If for those who have played the episode already, you know what I'm talking about. This scene where Clementine encounters a dog on in an abandoned campsite, and she has to befriend the dog. She's friendly with the dog. The dog even learns how to play fetch, and it's a really cute, cool dog. And I'm thinking, oh shit, it's gonna be like I Am Legend, where you have to take care of this dog throughout the whole season, and then the last episode you're gonna have to kill the dog. No, because there's a part where Clementine finds food, and the dog's like, he wants food. So the Clementine's like, oh, okay, here's some food. And the dog is like, rah, 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 and starts like chowing down on almost all the food. And Clementine's like, no, and like grabs the can. That dog jumps at her, bites her like deep wound on the arm, will not let the fuck go. So you have to punch this dog repeatedly in the face to like have it just let you go. And when you finally manage to do that, you kick it off of you, and it goes flying. I don't know how Clementine had the strength to do this, but she did. She managed to kick this dog off and lift it, flying through the air and across, like, on the other side of this log. And when Clementine gets up, she hears the dog crying. And, oh god, I'm getting sick thinking about it right now. And probably because I'm, like, a dog lover. I'm a huge dog guy. Probably that's why it just affected me so much. She walks on the other side of the log, and she sees the dog has been impaled by the little things that you use to set up tents with. She's impaled. He's impaled on a couple of those, and bleeding out. The dog is dying, and it's a really grisly. Like, they don't shy away from showing anything. I mean, whenever someone, like, even if it's a cute dog, it's gonna get fucked up, and you're gonna have to watch it in full detail. And Clementine can either choose to like let the dog like suffer, or you could put it down. And I chose to put it down because that dog it tried to attack me, but it doesn't deserve to bleed out to death like this. So I just I don't know whether Clementine stabbed it in the neck or cut its throat. I'm gonna assume she cut its throat, because you hear she's like, I'm sorry, Sam, because Sam's the name of the dog. She's like, I'm sorry, Sam, and she cuts the dog's throat, and you hear like a and Clementine is just broken after that. And, like, she starts to cry, she just breaks down. And like the sewing scene, this is a really great character moment for her, because it shows her maturity. And she learns a hard lesson that will probably play a really big part in developing her psychologically as being a tougher person than Season 1. Because this shows that she cannot form emotional attachments as much as she wants to. She cannot do it. Because it's going to come back to literally bite her in this case. And it also goes, she's got to do horrible things to survive out here. She's got to make some terrible decisions. She might even have to kill some people. And Clementine has the balls to do that. And which shows it with this dog scene. That she learns the hard lesson. Fuck everyone else. You have to survive. You got to take care of yourself. That's all that matters. Just you. Fuck everyone else. And she learns it in, like I said, typical Telltale's fashion. It's so fucked up and depressing and disturbing that it affected me so much. And I've read a lot of reviews that people are complaining about this series, like this episode being so dark and so depressing that there really aren't that many like happy moments. There are some happy moments in this episode. Maybe 2 I can think of off the top of my head. But I admire Telltale Games for having the balls to do something like this. Because you don't normally see children in peril all that much in video games. Actually, video games, they try to avoid putting children in peril. Like stuff like Skyrim, and like Skyrim has children. You can't hit kids. Kids can't die from dragons. I mean, full men guards can be taken down by a dragon in one swipe, but the children are alright. So they're invincible. It kind of... I'm not saying I want to kill kids in Skyrim. I'm just saying I feel as if we're scared to put a child in peril in video games because of like people coming after the industry. Like they have it already, but they're gonna be like, oh, child killing, oh my god. And I don't really see that in the case here with The Walking Dead, because children, even in the first season, you had Duck, who was Kenny's kid. Duck got bitten, you had to kill Duck. And he was a little kid. So, that's cruel. That's a cruel, as authentic as it possibly seems in fiction, that's an authentic zombie apocalypse experience where no one is safe. And that's the same thing here. Like I said, the apocalypse does not give a shit if you're a kid. It's gonna fuck you up in the same way it would fuck up a normal adult. And I admire the balls that Telltale Games has for putting Clementine through so much shit and depressing stuff that in the end she's going to become a stronger person for it. And I admire that. Sure, it's not happy. Sure, it's depressing as fuck. But you know what? So is life. Okay? And I appreciate Telltale Games for, not treating its audience like idiots, but actually taking us very seriously, that we can handle stuff like this. We can handle this little girl being put through hell. We can handle, like her having to make really tough decisions, like the dog killing scene. And it's just really goes to show, I think Telltale Games has improved their storytelling from Season 1 and The Wolf Among Us, where they are really making these really awesome, mature stories. And I'm one of those gamers that prefers story over, like, mindless shooting games. I want a story behind a game that I can care about. I want to care about my characters. Because if I don't have that emotional connection to them, I don't really care about the game in general. It's like just whatever. It's not that big of a deal for me. This is the case where I already have an emotional connection to Clementine, and to see her go through this, I care more about her in this game than I have ever did in Season 1. So I'm really excited to see what Episode 2 is going to bring, and I'm really excited to see what the Wolf Among Us... Speaking of The Wolf Among Us, this game makes The Wolf Among Us look like a cuddly wuddly TV show by comparison. That's a kid's show, but compared to this. Because, yeah, The Wolf Among Us, very dark, very grisly, very violent, very mature. But, you know what? At least that doesn't depress the shit out of me like like Walking Dead Season 2 does. So, I'm really looking forward to both episodes of these series. Looking forward to see how they're going to do the Tales from the Borderlands. Really looking forward to see how they're going to do the Game of Thrones, especially the Game of Thrones series. That will be fucking awesome. Alright, guys. Thank you for watching this video. If you agree with me, tell me which moments fucked you up the most in The Walking Dead Season 2. Let me know what you think of the game. Let me know what you think of Telltale's future projects. I want to hear you guys. Alright. And as always, have a good one, guys.